Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Astatara Sadashi Shimad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Astatara Sadashi Shimad, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Prem Sikoho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. New Dwarka Dham Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Gaur. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya. Naram Chaiva Narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayed Nasta Prayeshwa Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Reading this morning from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, Text 14. Sarvam Kala Kritam Manye Bhavatam Chayada Priyam Sapalo Yad Vasheloko Vayor Iva Ganavali Sarvam Kala Kritam Manye Bhavatam Chayada Priyam Sapalo Yad Vaseloko Vayor Iva Ganabali. Please chant. Sarva Kalam Kritam Manye Bhavatam Chayada Priyam Sapalo Yad Vasheloko Vayor Eva Ganabali. Sarvam Kala Kritam Manye Bhavatam Chayada Priyam Sapalo Yad Vasheloko Ganahari. Sarvam Kala Kritam Manye Bhavatam Chayada Priyam Sapalo Lastvase Loko Vayor Eva Ganabali. Sarvam Bhavatam Chayada Priyam Sapalo Yadvase Loko Vayor Iva Kanabali. Vaishnavis. Sarva Kalam Vitamanye Bhavatam Chayada Priyam Loko Vayor eva ganapali. Sarvam kala vitam yanye. Palatam cha yada priyam. Sapalo yadvashe loko. Vayor eva ganapali. Sarva kala kritam manye. Bhavatam cha yada priyam. Sapalo yadvase loko. Vayor eva gana hari. Sarva kala kritam manye. Bhavatam cha yada priyam. Sapalo yadvase loko. Vayor eva kana bali. Sarvam, all this, kala kritam, done by inevitable time. Manye, I think. Bhavatam cha, for you also. Yat, whatever. Apriyam, detestable. Sapalaha, with the rulers. Yat vase, under the control of that time. Lokaha, everyone in every planet. Vayo, the wind carries. Eva, as. Ghana avali, a line of clouds. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. In my opinion, this is all due to inevitable time, under whose control everyone in every planet is carried, just as the clouds are carried by the wind. Please say together. In my opinion, this is all due to inevitable time, under whose control everyone in every planet is carried, just as the clouds are carried by the wind. Purport. There is control by time all over the space within the universe, as there is control by time all over the planets. All the big gigantic planets, including the sun, are being controlled by the force of air, as the clouds are carried by the force of air. Similarly, the inevitable kala, or time, controls even the action of the air and other elements. Everything, therefore, is controlled by the supreme kala, a forceful representative of the Lord within the material world. Thus, Yudhisthira should not be sorry for the inconceivable action of time. Everyone has to bear the actions and reactions of time as long as one is within the conditions of the material world. Yudhisthira should not think that he had committed sins in his previous birth and is suffering the consequence. Even the most pious has to suffer the condition of material nature. But a pious man is faithful to the Lord, for he is guided by the bona fide Brahmins and Vaishnava following the religious principles. These three guiding principles should be the aim of life. One should not be disturbed by the tricks of eternal time. Even the great controller of the universe, Brahmaji, is also under the control of that time. Therefore, one should not grudge being thus controlled by time, despite being a true follower of religious principles. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Einstein proved that time is relative, and we have all experienced that when something is pleasurable, time goes very fast, and otherwise it goes very slowly. So that also applies to Bhagavatam classes, right? One of our friends who's a real great devotee of Srila Prabhupada has a business as a professional motivational speaker. So he'd give about 200 motivational lectures a year to big companies, Fortune 500 companies, big people around the world. And then once a year he would come and give a presentation for the devotees at a gathering here in North America. So he would say that the devotee audience was always the toughest audience, because devotees had mastered the art of sitting implacably without motion as he's speaking. This is from years of Bhagavatam classes. He said, other audiences I get some reaction, some emotion, but devotees? This portion of Bhishma's speech in the first canto is really amazing, because he's in a terribly painful condition, mortally wounded. He's been in that position for some time. And yet, when Yudhisthira comes to him, he is inquiring about Yudhisthira's well-being and actually showing his great compassion for this healthy, triumphant king. There he is on his deathbed, but his speech is all about how much Yudhisthira has suffered. That's his first concern. How is it possible for such a good-hearted, pious person as you to have gone through all the unbelievable sufferings you have endured? And so in this verse he says, it is just due to the influence of inevitable time. He's trying to console Yudhisthira. You know, generally, what to speak of when they're mortally ill, but old people have one favorite topic of conversation, which is what? What? Their health, yes. Thank you. This, my mother, bless her heart, is 99 years old, and she has outlived everyone in her family except her 2 children, and she's working on that also. So I was visiting her, and she was walking with one of her old lady friends down the hall. I was right behind them, and they're talking, and her friend turns to her and says, "Now on top of everything else, my butt hurts." This is usually the kata for older people, you know. And it comes as such a shock and surprise to most of us, how painful life becomes as we age. So the inevitable sufferings of time are the topic of this verse and this class. So I want to talk about time in its 3 phases. We have our past, present, and future. So how we deal with the time flow of our lives very much affects our consciousness. Like the older people, they tend to look back because there's not much pleasant to look forward to, right? In youth, we tend to look ahead because our whole life is just like laid out in front of us. So somewhere in there, in middle age, maybe we are very focused on the present, doing whatever it is we have to do to keep our body and soul and family together. But the Bhagavad Gita explains that if we can rise above the influences of looking backwards or forwards, then we can be yogis and enjoy life on a higher platform. Closer? Okay. I don't know if we can turn it up. It seems kind of... Okay. So yogis are able to be focused on the present. That's the point. Regardless of what phase of life one might be in. Our godbrother sculptor friend Adidev Prabhu made a beautiful sculpture, some of you may have seen, called Hankering and Lamenting. So it's this sculpture of an athletic running man with his body leaning forward in full motion running, but his head is looking backwards. It's a beautiful visual impression, you know, hankering and lamenting. So to hanker means to look ahead. I wish I had this, I wish I had that. If I had this, I'd be happy. This is hankering. So this is the influence of the mode of passion. That, all right, now I'm unhappy, but in the near future, I'm going to be happy. When I retire, I'm going to have so much money and time, and then I'll be happy. Now I'm suffering, but in the future, I'll be happy. This is the mode of passion. And the mode of passion allows us to endure a lot of painful conditions on the promise of something better ahead. Many people, atheists, condemn religion for that purpose, that it's promising some heaven in the future. Right? It's promising something wonderful ahead, and therefore you can sacrifice in this life for some unseen and unexperienced now, but promised future. Like in some sects of Islam, they promise 72 virgins for the successful practitioner in heaven. So I saw a cartoon, there's the new arrival is there, and there's 72 old nuns looking at him. Some people went to Catholic school, I guess. So, promising something as a reward in the future. This is one trick of the mode of passion. Work hard now, be rewarded later. And the problem is, again, those rewards are often unsatisfactory. On the other hand, the mode of ignorance leads us to look backwards. And we look back at our life. If I had only done this differently, if I had studied this instead of that, if I had just invested in this at that time, if I had married this person and not that person, if I had done this and that, all of these regrets are powerful effects of the mode of ignorance. So if we're feeling emotionally affected by hankering or lamenting, we should know that these are the modes controlling us. And it's incumbent on us to return our consciousness to the present. As Bhaktivinoda Thakur so eloquently said, forget the past, it's dead and sleeps, and never the future fear at all, but live in times that are with you, and progress you shall call. So time is one of the topics of the Bhagavad Gita, this presence of time, as Prabhupada says here, the representative of the Lord in the material world. The time is not the friend of the non-devotee. For the materialists especially, time is a ferocious, feared enemy. In the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Sukadeva Goswami begins his speech with this topic. You know, the whole first canto, which we're reading here, it's mostly about Maharaj Parikshit and his background, but it's also about Sukadeva Goswami, introducing Sukadeva Goswami. But we don't read a single word, there's not a single word spoken by Sukadeva Goswami in the whole first canto. Everything sets him up for the second canto. So when the second canto opens and he begins answering Maharaj Parikshit, he comes out firing, you know. Very strong verses, beautiful, powerful verses. That how people spend their lives at night doing what? Sleeping and sex life. Nidraya hriyate naktam vyavayena chavavaiha. And then in the daytime, diva chartahare rajan kutumba varanena va. They are busy making money to support their nighttime habits. So this is the life of the materialist, and because of that preoccupation with the moment, they can't see the long term. So not that looking ahead is wrong, but we should understand where we're heading and act accordingly. Ayur harati vai pumsam, udyanasan chidyasapi, tasyarta, dachino nita, uttama shloka vartaya. Every day the sun is rising and setting. So for the person engrossed in material life, it just takes him one day closer to death. But for the devotee, for the person whose life has put God at the center, every rising of the sun is bringing that person one day closer to relief from the sufferings of this world. So what's the difference between that promise and the reward and the promise of some future heaven? The difference is for the Vaishnava that we can experience Krishna right now. We can experience Krishna and the happiness of Krishna consciousness right now in the moment. And that's the art of bhakti. It's really quite nice, isn't it? All we have to do is learn how to be happy in the moment. Prabhupada said that all we are asking you to give up are your miseries. One of my godbrothers who passed away, he used to like to say that Prabhupada said, chant and be happy. He said, this was not a blessing, this was an order. So that's our blissful engagement in Krishna consciousness, trying to find out the unique way we have to please Krishna. You know, there are so many living entities in this universe. Science says there are 100 trillion cells in a human body. Just one human body, 100 trillion. Only 10 trillion are human. 90 trillion are hitchhikers, you know, coming along, waiting for the feast. So all of these living entities have a unique relationship with Krishna. Isn't that amazing? And not only a unique relationship, but a unique way of pleasing Krishna. Each and every one of these countless living entities. That's a very godlike thing to do, isn't it? If you were Krishna, wouldn't you think of something creative like that? Let me create countless living entities and give each one of them a unique power to bring me pleasure. So all we need to do in Krishna consciousness is find that unique way we have to please Krishna. Unique is a word that cannot be modified and remain accurate. If you say it's pretty unique, that's not unique. Kind of unique, very unique. It's not unique. It's either unique or it's not. So our unique way of pleasing Krishna is individual and indigenous to our own spiritual existence. Self-realization simply means clearing away all the other clutter and finding that unique way we have to please Krishna. And that is bliss. When we are making Krishna happy, then we feel happy. That's the whole point of bhakti. But we find ourselves in this material world, still affected by time. And time is gnawing on us and bugging us and pressuring us every single day, every single moment. You know, we're under pressure from time. So I've had the pleasure of doing some service in Guyana over the past few years. Anyone ever been to Guyana? So Guyana is a very interesting country, just I guess me and Vijay. It's as big as England, but it only has 1% of England's population, just 750,000 people. It's a very beautiful tropical country. And it's very flat on the plains near the Caribbean, where it's very fertile. Guyana means the land of waters. So it has 3 huge rivers that flow and empty into the Caribbean there. One of the reasons it's not so popular or well known is because of all the silt going into the water, the beaches are all full of brown water. So nobody goes there. But there is a unique natural wonder in Guyana. It's called Kaitanu Falls. So it's way back in the uninhabited portions of the Amazon in the south of the country where it becomes mountainous. And there's a river, one of these huge rivers that flows through the country that goes over a precipice. And this waterfall, imagine the Ganges dropping 700 feet without interruption. That's what it's like. It's the longest single drop waterfall in the world and the largest waterfall by volume in the world. So that waterfall is named it's from an indigenous word that means old man fall. And the story is that there was a very disagreeable man and all of his family members got together, put him in a boat and pushed him out on the river to go over the falls. So I thought that's very appropriate for the subject of time. Because having taken birth, we're all like in this river and we can't get out of it, and it's just heading over a huge fall. Isn't it? That is our life. We can't win, we can't break even, and we can't quit. We're just getting pushed over, and our inevitable destruction is just ahead. So how we deal with these realities defines our lives as devotees. If we can find some unique service we like to do for Krishna in this world, in the Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami says that we should find some service we want to do so much that we can shed tears out of sincere desire to please Krishna in that way. If we can find some service, that allows us to keep our head above the water in the river as we're getting rushed over the falls. That's about the best we can do. But at least we'll understand the situation, right? It's better that than just tumbling along, being pushed along with no idea of what's happening. So this is why the Gita talks about titikshava, being tolerant in this world, to be able to acknowledge the difficulties imposed on us by time, taking responsibility for those difficulties as a result of our own past decisions, and then making good decisions going forward. That instead of living this life trying to please my senses, I'm going to try to please my Creator. That the unknown thing, as Prabhupada so eloquently said, unknown to all, it's full of brace. The life of a devotee is full of brace, vigor, life, happiness, satisfaction. That is the gift for anyone who's willing to put their head above the water and get a sense of what is happening. Srila Prabhupada said here, one should not be disturbed by the tricks of eternal time. So knowing of our inevitable destruction means that we are dealing with the reality, not being bewildered by time. Some of my relatives used to tell me, you Krishnas are such fatalists, always talking about old age, disease, and death. You know, why don't you look on the bright side of life? So we're not fatalists, we're just realists. And looking at the reality opens up the door to being happy. It's like a student in college who's got a final exam on Monday. Okay? So it's Friday afternoon. So Friday usually means this is my time for enjoyment, right? But the final is coming up on Monday. So the student has two choices. Let me just enjoy now and I'll study later. Or let me study now and then maybe I'll have some time to enjoy. Right? So this latter is the mentality of the devotee. Let me prepare for the inevitable now so that I can actually have some room to enjoy. Instead of putting it off and putting it off, because then I really can't enjoy. Because in the back of my mind, I know this thing is coming up. So dealing with the realities of life actually allows us to be happy. It allows us to enjoy. It allows us to navigate this world in a reasonable way and feel satisfied. Okay, I can't stop it, but I'm going to be ready for it. One of our dear godbrothers in Alachua just left his body, Yamaraj Prabhu. So, of course, he's well known as a BBT stalwart here for so many years. And if every service you do makes a deposit in a transcendental bank account, Yamaraj died a billionaire. And he took it with him, too. So I went to see Yamaraj Prabhu the day before he passed away. He had this extraordinarily painful kind of cancer. Very painful. Really miserable. And he was lying in bed, and he wanted to talk. Actually, mostly when he'd have visitors, he'd want to talk. He didn't want to talk about his cancer. He said, tell me how you became a devotee. That's what he just wanted to hear, people's experiences joining Krishna consciousness. Because he laid out hundreds of thousands of pages of transcendental literature that were read by millions and millions of eyes. So I think he was just taking comfort in knowing that in his life he had helped people. And hearing how they'd been touched by Prabhupada's books gave him solace. So as he wanted to talk, we were reminiscing a little bit about this and that. And he was kind of fading in and out of consciousness because he hadn't eaten in 4 or 5 days. And I asked him, did you ever regret not getting married? He said, no. So navigating our life, making decisions that are appropriate for our unique way of pleasing Krishna, this is how to deal with time. When Srila Prabhupada was sitting on a park bench in 1965 in New York, he met a railway conductor, a subway conductor, who he was just talking with in casual conversation. I was there in Vancouver in 1980 or 82 when the devotees met this man. It was a big revelation. He said, I met your Swami. And he said that he told me, he was obviously poor and alone. He had no one with him, but he was saying, we have temples, we have schools, we have farms, thousands of devotees. Only the time is separating us. So the time becomes the friend of the devotee who has this passionate desire to please Krishna in some way. Maybe it's not manifest right now, but that deep heartfelt desire is so real to the Vaishnava that time becomes inconsequential. Just a little bit of a delay. And as the devotee ages, even if there isn't something so grandiose in our minds like Prabhupada had, at least we see that we have no false expectations about what is going to happen or in this life. This is something I've experienced as I'm aging, that more and more there's just nothing in this world of interest, nothing in this world that's worth sticking around for. And it's a very liberating feeling. Anyone else experience that? Yeah, it's just, okay, I'm here, I'm minding the store, I'm punching in, I'm doing my service, but I'm just waiting. And Krishna, whenever you're ready, I'm ready. So this is so different than the life of those who try to just hang on till the end of life, enjoying. Like, especially in Florida, where I'm from, Miami Beach. Miami Beach is called the world's largest changing bodies exhibit. Because everybody there is just trying to hold on to their youth, and it looks so pathetic. So devotees have no such illusions. We are ready. And this is the great gift of Srila Prabhupada. In the Gita, Krishna says, time I am. It's the heaviest part of the Gita. If there's anywhere there's hellfire and brimstone in Bhagavad Gita, it's just that one place in chapter 11. When Arjuna has scared to death after seeing the universal form that he asked to see. and Krishna showed him. And then he said, whoa, please tell me who you are. So fierce of form, O Lord of Lords. And Krishna says, Kalosmi, I am time. And I'm here to reign. And you're living in my dominion here. Now, all of these soldiers you see out here that you're so concerned about, they're already dead. They're already dead. So what are you worried about? Your choice is to be my tool or to just let them die. Anyway, so what do you want? So you should stand up and claim your kingdom and your right to rule. So when Krishna gets heavy, it's just for this one purpose. You know, this threat, which is not really a threat, just a reality check. Everyone's going to die anyway. What is your problem? This is your way of pleasing me. So you can take the credit or you can just let it happen. So similarly, whatever it is we want to do for Krishna, we can do it and take the credit, or we can just let it happen. It's going to happen anyway if it's Krishna's desire. But we can be the instrument if that is our desire to make Krishna happy. We can be the instrument in our own unique way and deal with this life in a responsible, intelligent, and manageable way. This is a great gift of these instructions from Grandfather Bhishma, even to the great soul Yudhisthira. So what to speak of us? So thank you very much. Hare Krishna. I hope that was relatively fast. Any questions or comments? Yes, sir. We have a microphone. Archita Prabhu, if you want, I'll... Oh, okay. Sir? Yes, please. This gentleman. Yes, sir.
Okay, can you hear me? Since if this is such a surefire way of removing suffering, why aren't people breaking down the doors to do it?
Can't quite hear you, sorry.
It's on.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. If this is such a surefire way of removing suffering, why aren't people breaking down the doors to get it, to practice it?
That's a very good
question. Why do people leave?
Good question, both questions. So if this is such a surefire way of removing suffering, why aren't people breaking down the doors to get in? And then why do people leave? This is an excellent question. The short answer is that it's summed up in a question that one of his disciples asked Srila Prabhupada. Why is illusion so strong? The illusion to enjoy this world. Why is it so strong? He said, the illusion is not strong, your purpose is weak. We're not convinced. See? That's why people leave. Now, why don't people come in? Because they are tumbling down that river and they have no idea they can even put their head above the surface. So we're doing our best. I'm a chaplain at the University of Florida and part of a chaplains committee there. And it includes representatives of a dozen different religions, the Jews, the Mormons, the Baptists, the Lutherans, da-da-da. And so all of us were sitting around one day, and the topic was how so few college students are interested in spirituality anymore. All of them, all the religions are losing members. Every single one, except us at Krishna House. But I didn't say that. But I did say, I quoted Srila Prabhupada, when you're selling plastic jewelry, everyone will buy it. But if you're selling diamonds, there'll be very few customers. So the chairman, he heard that and he says, oh, that's deep. Let's think about that for a minute. All right? Thank you. I mean, it makes sense. People should be breaking down the doors, but they just don't, they're not interested in the product.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you. Haven't seen you in a long time. Thank you. Wonderful that you're here. Just to remind everybody, he will be speaking tomorrow evening, giving his Bhagavad Gita presentation.
Rap, yeah. Bhagavad Gita in rap. Finally,
Yeah.
if Hamilton can do it on Broadway, we're going to do it for Bhagavad Gita.
Hare Krishna. So, I happened to also speak to Yamaraj 2 days before he left.
Huh.
And I had just heard a class. Devotees here know, but I'll just repeat it. That the Prabhupada has just spoken. We hear from Prabhupada every Sunday morning. And he said, for a devotee, death is a temporary inconvenience. So when I told Yamaraj that, even though, like you said, even though he was getting low tank was running down at that point, he laughed like anything. Pushkar was there in the room, and he said Yamaraj was laughing like anything. So that's Prabhupada's, assurance to us. For us, if you're really a devotee, death is a temporary inconvenience. Prabhupada said it's like you close your eyes and then they open again the next moment you're with Krishna.
Very nice. Temporary inconvenience. I love it. Okay. Can I tell you a funny story real quick about Yamaraj? When Radhanath Maharaj was visiting Alachua, the Back to Godhead center is all the way at the back of the property. So they invited him, please come and visit Back to Godhead. So he's going all the way to the rear of the property, and then he gets there and knocks, and who opens the door? It's Yamaraj Prabhu. And he says, just my luck. I go back to Godhead, and there's Yamaraj. Any other questions or comments? Yes.
Yeah, Haribo, it seems like Bhishma Dev, when he was passing away, he wasn't on any kind of painkillers or anything. Right. So that's what's so amazing to me. And so my question, in your experience, when devotees leave this world, how do we legitimately deal with the pain of before death?
Yeah, how do we deal with the pain before death? Yeah, that's a really important topic. I had a brother-in-law who abruptly got this terminal lung cancer and was dead within 3 or 4 months. And I'd see him from time to time, and he was just so doped up all the time that he really just didn't know what was going on. And I thought how unfortunate it was, to leave the world in that condition. But that's very common. It's a balance. Devotees have to figure out how to take enough medication so they can function, and yet not so much as to cloud their ability to remember Krishna. Prabhupada was very adamant, don't take me to a hospital. Our god brother Abhiram Prabhu was Prabhupada's nurse. He said Prabhupada was like the worst patient in the world. You see a doctor, and the doctor gives him some medicine. He said, okay, and he'd take it for a day or two. And then so being able to keep that balance without excessive use of painkillers is the best answer I can give you. Anyone else like to shed any light on that?
In my experience, and from what I've heard from others, that usually there's a period of inactivity for the person before passing away, which they don't feel any pain. They're unconscious, but they're not feeling any pain. So at that time, pain medicines could be lessened and hearing increased.
Okay, good, thank you. I hope, may we all be so fortunate. Anything else? Okay, we'll stop there. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.